Stop watering your tomatoes every single day. I know that sounds backwards, but hear me out. Because this one mistake is exactly why your neighbor's tomatoes are twice the size of yours, and they're barely even trying. Stick around, because what I'm about to share will completely change how you think about growing tomatoes. Hey there, garden friend. Welcome back to Serene Green Gardens. If you're new here, I'm so glad you found us. This is where we grow amazing gardens without emptying our wallets. Today, we're diving into 5 techniques that'll have your tomato plants growing faster than you ever thought possible. And no, we're not talking about expensive fertilizers or fancy equipment. Before we dig in, do me a quick favor. If you love growing your own food and want more budget-friendly garden tips, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It's free, it helps the channel tremendously, and you'll never miss another tip that could save your garden season. All right, let's get into it. Here's the thing about tomatoes. They're not complicated plants, but timing matters. Every week you waste using methods that barely work is a week you could have been watching your plants explode with growth. We're talking about the difference between picking your first ripe tomato in August versus late June. That's 8 extra weeks of fresh salsa, folks. And when you consider that store-bought tomatoes can cost you anywhere from $3 to $5 per pound during peak season, growing faster tomatoes isn't just about bragging rights. It's about feeding your family better food for less money. So, let's make sure you're not leaving anything on the table. Technique number 1. I call this the underground feast method, and it's going to sound a little strange at first. When you plant your tomato seedlings, most people dig a small hole, drop the plant in, cover the roots, and call it done. But here's what barely anyone talks about. Tomatoes are one of the few plants that can grow roots directly from their stems. This is massive. Here's what you're going to do instead. Strip off the bottom leaves from your seedling, leaving just the top cluster of leaves. Now, dig a trench instead of a hole. Lay your tomato plant sideways in that trench with just the leafy top sticking out above ground. The entire stem you just buried, it's going to sprout roots within a week. Think about it like this. Instead of having a shallow root system trying to support your entire plant, you've suddenly got roots running horizontally through the warmest, most nutrient-rich layer of your soil. More roots mean more water absorption, more nutrient uptake, and way faster growth. I tried this side by side last season. Same variety, same planting day. The buried stem tomato was a full foot taller 3 weeks later. And here's your budget-friendly bonus. This costs you absolutely nothing. You're just repositioning what you already have. One quick tip though, when you're laying that plant sideways, angle the leafy top upward slightly. The plant will naturally straighten itself out within a few days, reaching for the sun, but this gives it a head start. Now I know some of you are thinking, won't that stress the plant out? Actually, no. Tomatoes are tougher than we give them credit for. They want to grow. Your job is just to set them up for success. Technique number 2, and this is where I lose some people at first. I call it the deep water rebellion because it goes against everything you've probably been told. Stop watering your tomatoes every day. Seriously, stop it. Here's what's happening when you water frequently with small amounts. Your tomato roots are getting lazy. They're hanging out in the top few inches of soil waiting for their daily drink. They have no reason to dig deep. And when roots stay shallow, your plants become dependent on you. Miss one day in the summer heat, your plants wilt. They're fragile. But when you water deeply and less often, everything changes. Those roots have to search for water. They push down through the soil, sometimes 2 or 3 feet deep. Down there, the soil stays cooler and retains moisture longer. Your plants become drought-resistant machines. So, here's the actual technique. Water your tomatoes deeply until you see water pooling slightly, then don't water again until the top inch of soil is completely dry. For most climates, this means watering every 3 to 4 days instead of daily. I started doing this 2 years ago after a frustrating season where my plants would droop if I missed even one morning watering. The next year, with deep watering, I went on a 5-day vacation in July, came back expecting disaster. My tomatoes were thriving, no wilting, no stress, just healthy plants with root systems that had learned to take care of themselves. And here's your wallet's favorite part. You're using less water overall. Shallow, frequent watering actually wastes water through evaporation. Deep watering means more of that water reaches the roots where it's actually needed. One thing to watch: when you first switch to this method, your plants might look a little sad for a few days. They're adjusting. Don't panic and flood them with water. Trust the process. Within a week, you'll notice them looking stronger than ever. Hey, quick question. Are you trying any of these techniques this season? Drop a comment below and let me know which one you're most excited about. And if you're finding this helpful, smash that like button. It tells YouTube to share this video with more gardeners who need these tips. All right, back to it. Technique number 3 is what I call the pruning paradox, and it feels completely wrong until you see the results. You're going to start removing parts of your tomato plant, on purpose. Most gardeners let their tomato plants grow wild. Every branch, every sucker, every leaf stays on the plant because more green stuff means more growth, right? Wrong. What you actually get is a bushy, crowded plant that puts all its energy into making leaves instead of making tomatoes. Here's the technique. Identify the suckers. These are the small shoots that pop out where a branch meets the main stem. They look innocent, but each sucker is trying to become its own full branch. If you let them all grow, your plant becomes a tangled mess competing with itself. Once your plant is about a foot tall, start pinching off those suckers. Just use your fingers to snap them off when they're small and tender. You're not hurting the plant, you're redirecting its energy. Instead of supporting 10 weak branches, your plant now supports 4 or 5 strong, productive branches. The result? Faster fruit development, better air circulation, which means fewer diseases. And here's the wild part. You actually get more tomatoes from a pruned plant than an unpruned one. Quality over quantity becomes quantity and quality. I was skeptical about this for years. It felt like I was sabotaging my own plants. But after one season of testing pruned versus unpruned plants, the difference was undeniable. The pruned plants produced their first ripe tomatoes 2 weeks earlier. 2 full weeks! For you budget gardeners out there, this technique also costs nothing. You're just being strategic with what's already there. And bonus, better airflow means you'll spend less money fighting diseases later in the season. One important note, focus on the suckers, not the main leaves. Those big leaves near fruit clusters are feeding those tomatoes. Leave them alone. Technique number 4 is something your grandparents might have done without really understanding why it worked. I call it the Magnesium Secret. Tomatoes are magnesium-hungry plants. Without enough magnesium, they can't perform photosynthesis properly, which means slower growth and yellowing leaves. Most gardeners run to buy expensive plant foods when they see this happening, but here's what almost no one tells you. Epsom salt. Yeah, the same stuff in your bathroom cabinet. Epsom salt is magnesium sulfate. It's not actually salt, it's a mineral compound, and tomatoes absolutely love it. Here's how you use it. Dissolve 1 tablespoon of Epsom salt in a gallon of water. Water each tomato plant with this mixture once when you transplant them, and then once more when they start flowering. That's it. 2 treatments for the entire season. The magnesium boost helps your plants produce chlorophyll more efficiently, which means faster growth and deeper green leaves. The sulfate helps with nutrient absorption. Together, they're like rocket fuel for tomatoes. Except rocket fuel doesn't cost you $2 for a container that'll last 3 seasons. I started using this technique after watching my tomato leaves turn pale yellow one summer. I thought it was a watering issue, maybe a pest problem. Tried everything. Then an old-timer at my local garden center mentioned Epsom salt, almost as an afterthought. Within 2 weeks of using it, my plants transformed. Dark green leaves, new growth everywhere, and the fruit that was already forming seemed to swell up faster. Here's a pro move. If you've got a spray bottle, you can also make a foliar spray. 1 tablespoon Epsom salt per gallon of water, spray it directly on the leaves early in the morning. The leaves absorb the magnesium directly. Some gardeners swear this works even faster than soil application. And before you ask, no, you can't overdo it with Epsom salt like you can with nitrogen-heavy fertilizers. Used at these rates, it's incredibly safe. Your plants will only take what they need. Technique number 5. The companion conspiracy. All right, final technique. And this one's my favorite because it sounds like garden folklore until you actually try it. I call it the companion conspiracy.
Certain plants, when grown next to tomatoes, actually make your tomatoes grow faster and healthier. It's not magic, it's biology. These companion plants either repel pests, improve soil health, or provide benefits that tomatoes can't create for themselves. Here are the power players: basil, marigolds, and carrots. Basil first. Plant basil around the base of your tomato plants or in between them. Basil repels aphids, whiteflies, and hornworms. These pests absolutely devastate tomatoes, but they hate the smell of basil. Even better, some studies suggest that basil actually improves the flavor of tomatoes grown nearby. Plus, you're getting two harvests from the same garden space. Fresh tomatoes and fresh basil, that's caprese salad growing in one spot. Marigolds are next. These bright, cheerful flowers aren't just pretty. Their roots release a substance that kills nematodes in the soil. Nematodes are microscopic worms that attack tomato roots and stunt growth. Plant marigolds around the perimeter of your tomato patch, and you've created a natural pest barrier. And here's the budget angle. A packet of marigold seeds costs maybe $1 and will give you dozens of plants. Now, carrots. This one surprises people. Carrots have deep taproots that break up compacted soil. When you plant them near tomatoes, they're literally aerating the soil as they grow, making it easier for tomato roots to spread. Plus, carrots and tomatoes don't compete for nutrients because they feed at different soil depths. It's a perfect partnership. I restructured my entire garden bed 2 seasons ago based on companion planting. I alternated tomato plants with basil, ringed the whole bed with marigolds, and tucked carrot seeds in the gaps. That season, I had 0 hornworm damage for the first time in years. 0. And my tomatoes grew so aggressively that I had to add extra stakes halfway through summer because the original supports weren't enough. The beautiful thing about this technique? You're not adding chemicals or spending extra money on solutions. You're just being smart about what goes where. You're letting plants help each other the way they would in nature. So here's what it all comes down to. If you want your tomato plants to grow faster, you don't need fancy equipment or expensive products. You need to work with the plant's natural biology, not against it. Bury that stem deep and give your plant a massive root system from day one. Water deeply, but less often, so those roots grow strong, independent. Prune strategically to direct energy where it matters most. Feed your plants magnesium with cheap Epsom salt to supercharge their growth, and surround them with companion plants that protect and support them naturally. Do all 5 of these things, and I promise you, your tomatoes will outgrow anything you've seen before. You'll be picking ripe fruit weeks earlier than your neighbors, and you'll do it all without breaking the bank. This is the difference between gardening by habit and gardening with purpose. Most people do the same things every year and hope for different results. But you're here watching this, which means you're different. You're willing to try something new. All right, garden friend, that's all 5 techniques. I really hope this helps you grow the best tomatoes you've ever had. If you got value from this video, please hit that like button and share it with someone who loves gardening. It helps us reach more people who need these tips. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? We post new budget-friendly garden tips every single week. Real advice that actually works, no fluff, no expensive products you don't need. Just click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these 5 techniques are you most excited to try? Do you have any tomato growing tips that I didn't mention? Drop a comment below. I read every single one and I love learning from this community. Thanks so much for watching Serene Green Gardens. Now get out there and grow something amazing. I'll see you in the next video.